I'm going to admit that I'm not the most comfortable around babies and not the most comfortable holding babies because I have this huge fear that I might, drop the kid or just, do something wrong. I've noticed often that when a baby comes into a room, like all the women were just like, oh, look at how his little finger moves. And I'm not fascinated by babies. I naturally tend to gravitate to people who are above me in social status. So I gravitate towards power and competence. Those are the areas where I naturally incline. And so the weaker, the sicker, the more fragile and dependent, I don't naturally gravitate towards them. I have to kind of push myself to spend time with them and to visit the sick and to do good deeds and to take care of the less fortunate, but it's not natural to me. Anyway, I was listening to a podcast interview with Jennifer Kello, who has a website called alexanderbabies.com, and she's a licensed nurse, and she's also an Alexander Technique teacher. And when she was learning the technique, she was working as a nurse in newborn intensive care. She found that the infants were having trouble moving forward in their development, getting better. They suddenly started to change when she was holding them and directing her own use. So they started to eat if they weren't eating before. They started to sleep if they were not sleeping before. Even cardiac babies were staying pink instead of having trouble keeping their circulation going. And that transformation with the babies, when Jennifer would think about her own use of herself, motivated her to become an Alexander teacher. And she discovered that her own use of herself, her own level of tension and stress in her body was being translated through her hands to these infants. And that's what happens to anyone who's holding infants. So if you're really stressed and pulled down and compressed, that's going to come through your hands and it's going to make your infant more likely to be distressed. And often there will be this cycle where the baby or the child will act out, the parent gets more stressed, compressed, pulled down and tense, and the child or baby reacts by acting out even more. But on the other hand, you can reverse the cycle if the parent is able to let go of unnecessary tension, compression, stress, come to greater peace with themselves. That will translate to those around them who will be more likely to experience and feel peace in themselves. And Jennifer's worked a great deal with brain-injured babies, premature babies, and when she's able to put her hands on them and get their whole system to calm down, whatever they are trying to do, such as to crawl or to eat, they're then finally able to do. So if you consciously prevent your own harmful physical patterns by using Alexander Technique, by letting go of needless compression and tension, and then put your hands on somebody, it's going to completely transform that experience for the other person. Because when you put your hands on someone, you're communicating from your central nervous system to theirs. And so if you're tense, stressed, pulled down, and compressed, that's going to come through your hands.